Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. Happy Monday. It's Thanksgiving week. We're excited to be with you in studio. We have Blake Neff here, as always, joined as well by the Zohran Mamdani questioner, the repeated questioner.
Bench presser, some might say.
Jack Posobiec, who was just at the White House on Friday during the Zoran Trump Accords. I want to hear. Give us the
peace
inside
process, the peace Accords.
Yeah, give me the inside
They did
scoop.
not share Diet Coke though. I can confirm that no Diet Coke was shared or offered.
Oh, they didn't even offer it.
No.
They
didn't offer it. Well,
Maybe
I've never seen a
private,
thin
but
person
not in
drinking
public.
Diet Coke.
All right, hold on.
So
Yeah, we have to play the clip. I wasn't planning on just a bit of about face. It just happened off the spur of the moment. This is cut 98. This is Jack repeatedly bench pressing Zohran Mamdani.
Continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
What you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Oh, we missed the first question there. There was that moment where you go, yes, you did. No, you absolutely did.
This clip, it's hard to hear it. He's like, no, yes, you did.
Yes.
Well, no, you said it.
It was a good clip. It was a good clip.
You said white. You said white neighborhood.
Well, I have to say, Blake sort of was warning about this beforehand. Blake was going,
yeah, everyone was like, it's going to be this big showdown. I was like, Trump likes New York. He likes meeting people. He's not actually as hostile to his political enemies as like in person.
yes,
he's actually he's genial.
Yes, he's very congenial in person. That's the word I was going to use as well. And I kind of knew it was going to be peaceful. And in walks Jack Posobiec and sort of gives the people what they want.
Somebody had to do something. Somebody did something. Some people did something. Ilhan Omar. It was just this situation where I honestly just I'm so annoyed that like here's this theater kid who's up there like acting as if he didn't do all the Bollywood stuff on his acceptance speech and demagogue white people on the campaign and talk about how my campaign is for Blake, you remember the list, right? The Bangladeshi taxi driver.
I think you mentioned Uzbeks. We now have Uzbeks
and the Tajiks
as a political group
and
in
the
America.
Ecuadorian abuelas and all that just went full mask off. And now he's trying to ratchet it back. He's trying to put the mask back on. And oh no, I'm just a nice guy. All I care about is affordability, et cetera. And like, no, you said all these things. You just don't get to walk away from that because you're in the Oval Office. And you could tell though, I don't think anyone in media has ever really just like held him to account on these things. They usually sort of like, let him just spill his word salad out and then go with that.
It was a total non-answer too, by the way. He was like, it's a description of intent, not a...
So an intent to tax the whiter neighborhoods more.
Yes, exactly. And, listen, we're going to watch and see how that happens.
What's the intent?
Trump is giving him an olive branch not to be a crazy person. I think a lot of people interpreted that as Trump folding and being charmed by Mamdani. No, this is Trump 101. Olive branch, hey, we had a nice conversation. We're going to hold off on doing anything crazy. Let's see what he does. And if he crosses me, we're going to go for him.
Well, and imagine Mamdani now having to go back to the left and be like, why did you sit down with a fascist?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and he's got clips on that, by the way, where he's basically saying everything I said about Trump still holds true now, which is a very, very strange thing to do. And he wouldn't actually just come out and say, yeah, he's a fascist. He said, what I said previously is still true.
It would actually be funny if he just said yes.
Just say it. Just say it. Anyways, we are going to talk about Ukraine. There is a massive movement that's been happening, Blake, on the Ukraine peace front. So there was, you can set this up, but there's essentially two competing deals that are now being floated. There is a U.S.-led effort that apparently happened with Witkoff and some Russian counterparts in Russia. That's where the negotiations were happening. And then that was leaked. And then the EU rushed to put together their own point-by-point plan. The U.S. one has 28 points, and the EU's is a little bit more
let's just dive into it, 'cause we didn't get to this last week. So it was a leaked 28-point plan, as they call it. We're not sure by whom, although evidence is it probably actually was leaked by the Russian side, which was capitalized on the press to say it was a Russian-authored plan. But what's going on is we haven't talked about the war in a while. The war is still going. It is still grinding. There is evidence it has been getting worse for Ukraine than it was a few months ago. They're losing ground a little bit faster. Not super rapidly. It's a big meat grinder war, but things aren't looking promising. And so last week we had this peace plan come out, 28 points. And some of the key ones, do we have that B-roll of the map that I gave you? I don't have the number in front of me right now. Yeah, throw that one up.
122.
122. So this is the heart of it. It would cede to Russia the areas of Ukraine, basically what the current front line is. There's a tiny amount of adjustment in the north, but it essentially matches what the current front line is. It would create a demilitarized zone in Donetsk province, which is one that Russia wants, but they haven't taken all of it. So it would essentially demilitarize the part still held by Ukraine.
That'd be the purple section.
Yeah. And what's very important is this deal, the 28-point deal, would formally acknowledge Russia taking those territories, as opposed to what some have insisted on, where they might allow Russia to keep occupying them, but continue to leave it as, not recognized, that supposedly Ukraine should take it back.
That's U.S. recognition.
Yeah, U.S. recognition.
So that means the President of the United States would come out with the whole of government, Secretary of State saying, and that's something obviously another president could overturn, but of course the Russians could always point to saying that, look, the U.S. recognized this.
And truthfully, I think that is a very important part of what I think a long-term peace would be, because what has kept this a tumor that has flared up over and over again is that it's not resolved. It is never resolved. There is no final jurisdiction
for
of
11
claims.
years now.
For 11 years. And that's likely what led to this war, is the refusal to acknowledge the ceding of Crimea, or I should say the seizure of Crimea. And, their original offer before the war happened was, if you would acknowledge Crimea and then a few military concessions, that they would be okay with a long-term peace. That wasn't ceded, so instead we got this war. Other stuff in it, the peace deal would require Ukraine shrinking the size of its military. I think that will be a difficult sticking point.
Now, that's the U.S. version, not the EU version.
The U.S. version, yeah. The U.S. version.
U.S. version caps the Ukraine military at 600,000, which is still huge, by the way, for European terms, especially. The EU plan would give no restrictions placed on Ukraine.
Yeah, it would not allow them into NATO, though it would allow them into the European Union, which I feel would be a quite important session, because is Russia going to invade a member of the European Union, especially if the European Union maybe developed some sort of unified armed forces?
Yes.
It seems less likely to me. But the point is, a lot of people have freaked out about this. There's a lot of opposition to it. There has been a counter-European Union plan where the main argument they've made is basically that it has a smaller number of points in it, and it's 19 points instead of 28, which means it concedes less to Russia.
But the neocons are freaking out, and that's the really big thing, because they just don't want the war to end.
They don't.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think they're still playing under an old paradigm. Here's one big key difference between the two plans, by the way. The Trump 28-point plan does offer G8 membership to Russia if they play by the rules over time. So Russia could get back into essentially the League of Nations.
And Trump's talked about that a lot. He mentions it like every time he goes to the G7.
That's a big carrot that is dangling out there for Russia if it plays by these rules. And I think here's the deal. You have, to your point, Blake, this war continues grinding on. There is no end in sight. Massive loss of life and casualties. One thing we know about Russia is they are very good at wars of attrition, where they just grind them out long time. I mean, so I think that if you compare and contrast these two plans, you still have the European Union playing under an old paradigm, if you will. And I think just analyzing both of them this morning and over the weekend, the Trump plan feels much more realistic. We'll be right back.